have an abundance of confidence, have an abundance of love, become someone who knows who they are currently. You have to recognize and take accountability. Look at who you are. Well, I'm someone who, I don't go outside a lot. I sit at the computer, I sit on Discord, I beat my meat. Look at all those things based on who you are, and to get to who you need to be to have that true mindset and that true belief of abundance. What does that person who has that mindset do? You clicked on this video for a reason, and the reason why you clicked on this video is because you may be worried about your future, and you may be worried about the direction that you are going in your life, and you either want to make a change or you want to be aware of that direction and see where you're actually going so you can have a better understanding and more control over that route. So today we are going to be discussing how you can take control of the route of your life, how you can choose your destination, and how you can get to the root of all of your beliefs, all of your actions, all of your behaviors, all the things that you think that you are. This framework that is right next to me, and I'm going to briefly introduce it before we dive right into it. This framework will allow you to examine yourself and examine all of those things that I previously mentioned and see where that root comes from. And let's get right into it. So today, this video is the introduction to the 5W's. And before we start, we must first define the root, because this is the most important part. And you guys are going to hear me talk about this root all throughout the video. So as you can see here on the screen, the root is at the corner of the screen, and it is usually going to be at the bottom. And in the ebook, you guys are going to see the root compared to the root of a tree. This is just a basic example so you guys can get the gist of what the framework is and how to use it. And then there'll be diagrams in the 5W's ebook that will allow you to see it in a picturesque form, right? So the root here is at the basis of our core. It is our core foundation. It is what we were raised on. It is what we were trained to believe. It is what we are acting from, right? And it says right here, if you can't change it, accept it. And that's going to come into play later throughout the video as we get into these questions over here out on the outer edge of the 5W's framework. And then it says change your perception of it from lack to love. And that's also something that's going to come into play, because if you can't change it, then you have to change your perspective on it. So let's get right into it. This framework, and this specific framework right here, is going to discuss purpose. The framework can help you get to the root of your beliefs, your actions, your training, your perceptions, your habits, and those other things, but these specific questions out here on the outer edge, these are for getting to your purpose. And why purpose is important is because it gives you direction and it gives your life meaning. And I know you're probably thinking of this, or I know as you're watching this right now, if you have your purpose, you feel better about life. You feel more motivated to wake up in the morning. And if you don't, and you're still understanding purpose and understanding what your exact purpose is, then you have an inner sense of lostness. You don't really know where you're going in life. You don't really know what that looks like or what your day-to-day is. And this framework will allow you to get there, right? So why purpose is so important is because not only does it give us direction, but it allows us to choose for ourselves our own direction and our own viewpoints and what we want to judge our reality off of. So here there's two questions, right? For each of these 5W's, there are two questions. The first question is how you can get to the root of your purpose if you already know your purpose. And purpose is also known as your why. So here it says, my why is blank. If you know your purpose, you will put that why in right after the blank, and then from there, you will go to number one, right? And number one is why. And we always start with why, because why allows us to take us directly to the root and see what is fueling that purpose and see if that purpose is truly for you and if you've chosen that for yourself, not based on anything that you've been trained to believe about your purpose or what you've been given. Because sometimes, and oftentimes even for myself, my purpose was given to me by media, by society, by my environment, by schooling, and I grew up thinking that this American dream lifestyle was something that was for me, and it was something that I was pursuing because I was trained to pursue that. I was trained to go to college and get a degree. I was trained to get the corporate job. I was trained to go there and worked hard and then get the wife, get the golden retriever, get the house, get the car, and live out my life and just die like that. But when I realized that that wasn't for me, and how I realized that was by getting to the root of the problem. And how you do that here, after you've determined what you think your purpose is, you go to number one and then you continuously ask yourself why. So let's say your purpose is like mine, was the American dream, right? You want the car, you want the house, you want the dog, you want the wife. So you say, well, why is that my purpose? And then the first thing that pops into your mind, I want you to run with that. And I want you to write these things down so you can see it visually. So let's say, well, because that's what success looks like to me. Okay, well, why does success look like that to you? Well, success looks like that to me because that's what everyone around me defines their success as. And then you're closer to the root than you've ever been, because now you're seeing that that decision wasn't even based on something that you decided. It was based on other factors or other things that you define as success. So immediately you're at the root, and at that root you're seeing that that wasn't a choice that you made for yourself. So automatically you can change that, right? You can change your viewpoint if you want to. You always have that choice. But let's go even further. So you'll say, well, that's what everyone around me defines as success. Well, why? Why do they define that as success? Well, ask them. And if you can't ask them, then honestly, you can chalk it up to that's what they were trained on. That's what they were trained to believe by their parents, by their versions of reality, that that's what they were acting from, and that's what their purpose should be. And then you really start to think, right? You really go deep into that root and see that that's not even really what you want. And then now that you have the opportunity and you have the chance to change that, it's changeable, right? You can change your perception of what success is. Now you can go to, who do I need to become, right? You need to become someone who can think for themselves, who has their own version of success, who defines success based on their judgment of what it means to be successful and not based on any other's judgment. And then you start to break down who you need to be based off those characteristics, right? So this person defines their own success. This person, this is the who part. And all this time, you want to make sure that you are questioning all those characteristics with why, because you want to make sure that those characteristics actually align with defining your own success. And we're focusing on the top layer, and we'll go back in maybe another video and do the bottom layer if you haven't found your purpose. But let's assume you have found your purpose, and we're going based off the fact that your purpose is this American dream. But when you got to your why, you realized that wasn't, right? And so now you get to reevaluate. Now, who do you need to become to redefine your success and redefine what purpose really means for you and actually find your purpose? In all honesty, if you get to the root and you find out that that wasn't your true purpose, you're probably going to go down here. You're probably going to want to go to, I don't even know my why. And we'll get to that. But let's say you want to move forward with redefining your success. You just want to focus on that one piece. And you can break this apart into many pieces and examine all of those different things. But let's focus on defining success. So who do you need to become to redefine your success? You need to be someone who thinks for themselves, right? Free thinker. You need to be someone that does their own research, who is their own judge, who is this, who is that, etc., right? And then you question why. So let's go to each individual one. Why does this person need to be a free thinker? This person needs to be a free thinker because they need to be able to define their own success and define what success means to them. And they also need to be open to different versions of success and how they can, and the positives and the negatives based on their judgment of that version of success, right? They need to be able to think through, okay, I like this version of success because boom, 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 because it has this thing that I like, it has this thing that I like, it has this thing that I like. And I don't like this version of success because it takes up too much of my time. I have to be bound to a 9-to-5 schedule. I have to go to work every single day and do things that I don't really truly enjoy and that I'm not aligning with my purpose. And so you have to use your own judgment, right? And so what did that person do? What did that person do that they were able to become this person who was a free thinker? They started thinking for themselves, right? Why did they think for themselves? This line right here, this second line is where you want to continuously ask yourself why. You want to verify that point. So what did that person do? That person went out and sought out information to improve their own map, improve their own design, right? They went out, they sat down with themselves, they sat down with others that they trusted, and they asked them questions about how to redefine success, what success means to them, and then they took that information back, they sat down with themselves, and they judged it for themselves. They made up their own version, right? And then when did they achieve that purpose? Let's say their purpose is just to redefine success. When did they achieve that purpose? They sat down and they thought about, okay, who am I right now? I'm someone who doesn't know the version of success for themselves. Okay, who do I need to become? I need to become someone who knows how to think freely and redefine that success. Okay, what did that person do? They went out and sought out information from others and also reflected themselves and began to ask themselves questions about success. And then they did their research. Okay, when did that person achieve that? Like, how do I get there, right? How do I get to the version of the person that is freely thinking? You do that through your everyday actions, right? So I personally don't believe that the achievement of purpose is a thing. I believe that the pursuit of purpose is the achievement of purpose. So by you going out and you seeking those answers, you attempting and doing the actions that it takes to be a free thinker, and doing your research and getting all of these different information, reading books about thinking for yourself, reading books about redefining success, that is achievement of purpose. And I don't want you guys to put a timeline on this, and that is the reason why I put that in there, because I want you guys to realize that the pursuit of it is the achievement. As long as you're continuously going after seeking out new information, seeking out new ways to improve and see how your design is wrong, see how your version of success is right or wrong compared to your standard now, then that is the achievement. And then this is the time-bound situation right here, where we're looking at how did you allocate your time to do that research. You want to make sure that you are surrounding yourself and your time with that purpose, because not only will allow you to see where you're spending your time, it will allow you to see where you're not spending your time on purpose. So when you're looking at the number 5, you're going to look at, where did I allocate my time to achieve that purpose? Okay, and this is where we create schedules. We say from 1 to 2, I did research on redefining success. From 3 to 4, I sought out someone with a new perspective about success, and then so on and so forth. So that is how you would work through it. But let's look at a more concrete example so you guys can get a better feel for it. That was just an example that we used about success based off of someone who went into this framework thinking that they already knew their why, but now when they get to their why, now they're like, okay, this is not even for me. So let's go back from our concrete example, an example that could be relatable to your situation right now. Let's say you don't know your why, right? And you're searching for the answers, and you want to know what your purpose is, right? This is all about purpose, and all about aligning your passions with your purpose. So let's say you don't know your why, and you go into this with that pursuit, right? So you go to number 1. You ask yourself why you don't know your why. And you would sit down with yourself, and if nothing comes to your brain, what I want you guys to do, I want you to do this breathing exercise with me right now. I want you to breathe, close your eyes, and go to a comfortable place, a comfortable position in your house, a nice seat, your bed, somewhere where you're comfortable, somewhere where you can focus, somewhere where it's quiet. And I want you guys to breathe, right, for 3 seconds in. Hold it for 3 seconds. And exhale for 3 seconds. And I want you to do that a couple times until you guys feel relaxed. And then I want you to ask yourself this question: why don't I know my purpose? And then the first thing that pops into your mind is usually the thing that is right. Because if you think on it too long and nothing comes to your mind, and that means, you're not ready yet. You have to continue to do more and experience more to learn more about yourself. But let's say something pops in your mind is, I'm distracted. Boom. And now you realize, okay, well, I can change being distracted. But let's look at an example where you can't change that. Something pops into your mind and you say, well, I don't know my why because... Breathing in, breathing out. And you say, I don't know my why because I don't care. Like, I don't care about myself, right? And then you ask yourself why again. Why you don't care about yourself? Why you don't care about your purpose? Well, I never really thought about purpose, right? I never really thought about my direction in life. I didn't have the guidance to do that, I didn't have the love, right? And so this is where we start getting into the area of lack, where your purpose and your ability to not find purpose is being rooted in lack, right? So this is where we get to, if you can't change it, accept it. And if you can change it and you change your perception of it, this is how you would change from lack to love, right? So you get to a place, and we're going to get back to the example before where we were discussing about distractions, but let's talk about this circle in the middle, right? About lack to love. So you get to a place where you understand that you don't know your purpose because you don't care, and you see that you don't care because you don't really have direction, and you don't really have direction because you don't really care about direction, and then you ask yourself why you don't have direction is because you're lacking that self-love to give yourself direction and to pick yourself up, and you lack that confidence to find direction and to go out and to explore more and experience new things and find new things that you enjoy and meet new people and find new information and be able to get to those connections. So you see that you lack that self-love, right? And how you would change that is all you would do is you would change your perception of that lack of love to an abundance of love, right? And you would say, you know what? I don't lack those connections. I don't lack purpose. I don't lack time. I don't lack direction. I don't lack any of those things. I have an abundance of direction. I have an abundance of time. I have an abundance of self-love. And you truly have to believe that. And the way you believe that is by going out and becoming and testing yourself to who you need to be, right? Understanding who you are and who you need to be to test yourself in those situations to create that trust and create that self-belief and create that self-love and create those connections, right? So now you look at, okay, you're changing your perception, but how do you change your perception? Not only do you tell yourself that, and you tell yourself you're in abundance in all those situations, but then you move on to number 2. Who do you need to be, right? Who do you need to be to become a person that actually truly believes in their core that they are have an abundance of confidence, have an abundance of love, have an abundance of this? You have to become someone who knows who they are currently. You have to recognize and take accountability. So this is where we're working from someone who doesn't know their purpose, and then these can work together. Like when you use this framework, don't just stick to these two. Don't just stick to one if you don't know your purpose. Bounce off these two and use them both to find out who you are and who you need to be. So you look at who you are. Well, I'm someone who, I don't go outside a lot. I sit at the computer. I sit on Discord. I beat my meat. I do this, I do that. And you look at all those things based on who you are, and to get to who you need to be to have that true mindset and that true belief of abundance, then you look at what does that person who has that mindset do? Okay, well, what did they do? We're already doing it, right? Once we put it in past tense because we want to make sure that we are creating the shift in our mind where we are doing it already. We already did it. It's already done, right? So what did that person do to become abundant in all those things? Well, they valued themselves. They valued their time. They went out and they were outgoing. They adapted these different characteristics of someone who goes out and did that, right? They looked people in the eye. They used, they talked with a lower or a louder tone, right? They talked with quote unquote confidence. They carried themselves, right? They took care of themselves. They did self-care, right? They made sure their nails were clipped. They made sure that their teeth were brushed. They took a shower. They make sure that they were finding direction. They were seeking out new information. You write down all these things that person did to become abundant in all those things, and then you actually do them with number 3, right? With the what. Who was that person was characteristics. Not so much, number 3 is more so what they did, but number 2 is characteristics of that person. So that person they were caring, right? Who did that person become? They were someone who cared. They were about themselves. They were someone who cared about connections. So what did they do to care about those connections? I'm kind of rambling a bit, but we're getting to it. So what did they do to care about those connections? Well, they do the activities, right? The self-care, the this, the that. And when did they do that? They were on the pursuit. Them doing that is the achievement. And then where do they allocate that time? Well, they said, okay, let's look at the schedule. Here on Sunday, I can do self-care. I can write down all the things that I want to do, and then I'm going to actually do them and actually not negotiating with yourself when it's time to do those things. So let's look back, and this is the last example that I'm going to give you guys before we end this first introduction to the 5W's framework. I want you guys to drop down any questions you have in the comments about how you can use this, and also make sure you join that VIP list. So when the ebook comes out and we have the directions, you can use the directions to get to your purpose, and you can have access to that ebook. So go to the link in the bio, sign up for the VIP list, the SMS list, and you will get this ebook for free when it's released in the next couple of weeks. If not, you're gonna have to find it on Amazon and pay a little one too. So let's look at this last example of something that you can actually change. So that last example was someone who was acting from lack of self-abundance. That thing was holding them back. And I'm going to give you an example of me, right, in my pursuit of purpose. So when we were talking about the individual who was distracted, right, this was me. I didn't know my why because I was distracted. And how I undistracted myself was not only getting off social media, but giving myself time to truly think, right? To think about who I was, what I wanted to do. And when I had that time to think, it opened my eyes. But I was still lost in my pursuit, right? I was still on this direction of going down this pursuit of the American dream, but I had this greater understanding of myself because I wasn't distracted. I had time to think and reflect and determine what my purpose was. And I just ran with the corporate job because that was the first thing that came to my mind, and that was the first thing that just started working, right? I didn't give myself time to experience these different things. I said the corporate job was working, I was getting all these interviews, I was doing well in them. You know what, let's just run with this, let's see what happens. And honestly, it happened for a reason, because it allowed me to experience that and allowed me to see myself for who I truly was and what I truly wanted to do. So I got in that job, and then 60 days in, I realized that this wasn't for me. And luckily I realized that, but you know what allowed me to realize that was that time where I was undistracted. My eyes were open when I went into that corporate job. My eyes were wide open. I could see that this wasn't for me. If I was distracted and I was on social media and I was, going into this 9 to 5, and that was already consuming more of my time, and on top of that, when I went home, I was still on social media and I was still going out and doing this and doing that and drinking and smoking and going out and, doing all these things, I wouldn't have been able to have that understanding of this is not for me, because I'm so distracted looking somewhere else, not looking at myself in my own world, right? So I got to the root and I said, you know what? I can change this, right? I can quit this job. I can leave right now. But what am I going to do now? What is my purpose, right? So who do I need to become to know my purpose, to understand myself, and to start taking steps toward my purpose? Well, I looked at myself for who I truly was, and I looked at my core and I said, you know what? Well, what do I truly like? What is pushing me and what is fueling me in my life? And I found that at my root, it was due to lack, and it was due to lack of community, lack of love, lack of confidence, lack of this, lack of that. And what I had to do was I had to change my perception. And I realized that through that pursuit of changing, that I wanted to be the person who developed purpose not only for themselves, but help people develop purpose and help them get on their journey and help them get on their path of purpose, because I didn't have that. I realized that, you know what? If I can change this for myself, I can help others and develop frameworks for them to do it for themselves and for them to go out and to find purpose. But the reason why I did this was by working through these steps. And the shift from lack to abundance allowed me to love myself first, develop that self-love, that self-confidence, and then once I have that abundance of that for myself, then I can give it to others, right? Then I can be on my journey and on my pursuit of my purpose of helping others and building this community of individuals who share all this knowledge, all this information, all these resources, all these connections, and we can do what we want with them. We can use all those information, all that purpose, all those different things that I want to provide and bring everyone together to achieve our purposes and to get on our pursuits. So who did I have to become? I had to become someone who was abundant in all those things, right? I had to become someone who believed in themselves. I had to become someone who was confident, right? I had to become someone who loved the situation, loved the good, the bad, the ugly. I had to become someone who was unafraid to pursue their passion and create their own world, create their own way of thinking. I had to get in the driver's seat, right? I had to not only get in the driver's seat, but I had to also be open to others' perspectives, others' opinions, others' ways of improving my own design and my own route, right? And so what did I do to do those things, right? This is the actionable part. So I took time, right? I did my research on YouTube. I developed a framework. I started a YouTube channel. I had more experiences. I started creating content. I started a clothing brand to see all these different avenues where I could align my passions with my purpose. And that is the most important thing, right? We want to align those things, because when we are misaligned, that is when we start to get distracted and we start to be all over the place. But I'll get to that at the end. We'll wrap that up with that. But what did I have to do? I had to take those actionable steps. I had to create YouTube videos every day. I had to go out and sell, see what I liked and see what I didn't like, to develop my own design and develop where I wanted to go with this, right? And then when did I achieve that purpose? So when did I do those things? I went out every day. I got on YouTube. I went out and I sought out information. I sought out research. When did I, it's like when are you doing it? Kobe says 2 to 3 hours a day, every single day, no breaks, you will get better. So what did I do? Every single day I did that. And then I have to look at my time, right? So this is where you see where you're not focused and where you are focused. So I looked at my time, I said, okay, well, this is the improvement part. So we get our purpose, we see we're on our path, and now we look at, okay, how can we get better every single day? So I look at the times, I say, okay, this time, okay, I need to wake up earlier, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do this, and I need to put this down on paper and actually stick to it so I can continue to improve and not get thrown off my path. The where is more about not getting thrown off your path and making sure we're getting closer and more direct on our paths, but also staying open to different avenues. And I say stay open to different avenues because this is what I'm doing now. And this is how I'm aligning my passions with my purpose to ultimately make money and to survive and, to build this community. So staying open is extremely important. I'm gonna leave you guys with this because staying open allows you to have these different avenues of passion and align it with your purpose. So I was passionate about competition and I was passionate about sports, and that why came from, that passion and love for basketball and that passion for competition. And so I was passionate about sport. Excuse me. I was passionate about all these different things, but the reason why I wasn't having success is because I wasn't aligning it with my purpose. Yes, I was good at sales. Yes, I was a very competitive person. Yes, I love fashion. Yes, I love content. Yes, I love interacting with people. But when I didn't know my whys because I wasn't aligned with that core purpose, I wasn't connecting it in the middle at the root to make sure that I was fueling it from a place of actual love and a place of actual pursuit of purpose. So now that I know my purpose, I can go back and I can see the things that I enjoy, see the things that I'm passionate about, see where I spend my time about, see what I love talking about, see what I can talk about for an hour straight, see what I can, where I lead conversations, where I turn every conversation, and I can say, all right, well, I'm passionate about these things. How can I align this passion with this purpose? How can I align basketball with helping others? Well, I can use, and then you can align multiple things, right? How can I use basketball, content, clothing, community, YouTube, and all these things where I say, okay, well, where do these things intersect? Basketball and content, I can make videos about Kobe Bryant, right? Where does clothing and content and all these things align? Well, I can make clothing brand content, and I can also create conversations around purpose with this clothing brand. And not only that, well, I can give it away for free, and I can do this by connecting it to my purpose, right? And when you connect those things and when you align those things, this is where the magic happens, because now you are fueling yourself through purpose and you are doing it from the things that you love, right? Not from lack. So leave you guys off with that one. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you win from within today. Let me know the questions you have down in the comments about how to use this framework and how to use it to maximize and to understand yourself and to understand your beliefs, understand your trainings, understand your behaviors, your actions, the things that you do, your choices, your decisions, and all of those things that make you you and that you think defines you. Use that too. Use this framework to find that and ask questions in the comments, things that you don't understand, things that I can clarify for part 2, where we'll be going into more depth and using more examples. We can also hop on a call at any point. Go to the Calendly link in the bio, sign up for your free consultation, and there we will be able to use your example. So if it's not making sense right now, it's mostly because you're not relating it to your own life, right? And you don't know how to relate it to your own life. But the purpose of those calls is for us to sit down and actually relate it to your own life. And we use the different W's to get to those roots, to see what's fueling you to pursue that purpose or what's not fueling you, the reason why you don't know your purpose. And then we can start developing a plan together of how you can get on that path. So go ahead, not only sign up for the VIP list, but schedule your free consultation. And let's get you on the path of purpose. Let's get you going. Let's get you having a fulfilled life. Let's get you direction going for you and not for anyone else. Do this for you. Do this for your future. Do this for your life. Do this for yourself. So thank you guys again so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe for more. And stay tuned for part 2 of the 5W's framework, going into more depth into giving more examples about how you can relate this to your own life.